You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Punisher Waterfowls The Refuge is presented by Quick Koys, the fastest deployable, most portable, lifelike motion decoy product ever invented for duck hunters. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430 podcast. And I guess, is it fair to say this is the Dr. Duck podcast too? I don't know. I don't know, Billy. What are we doing here? So this is a new one for us, ladies and gentlemen. So we've got the fowl hunter, Mr. Billy Campbell, half of the Dr. Duck team, joining us tonight. And if you've seen the post that I just put out on Instagram, you'll know how excited I am. So just the four of us tonight. If you're watching, you could see it. If you're listening on the podcast with no video, we've got Phil, Craig, and the man Billy Campbell coming to us. And of course, it's going to be a great show. So before we get too far into it, I do have to thank our show's sponsors: First Light Hunting, Captain Jeff Coates, who's the voice of the Union 0430 podcast, Ducklander Calls, and Real Geese Decoys. Billy, buddy, this is so awesome, and it just, again, this theme where I'm saying everybody is so friendly. Again, I just reached out to you and said, hey, man, this is an idea I've got. What do you think? And you were like, yeah, man, let's do it. Let's do it. I appreciate you.
Shoot, man, I'm super thankful, Damien, for you and Phil, Craig. Nice to meet you guys. And I'm just super thankful to be here. Thankful for the opportunity. It's always, anytime you get to just hang out and talk ducks, I feel like that's a pretty good day.
That's a good day. Well, man, and I got to tell you, Billy, like when you guys, and I seen you because you were on the stage just down from us on the booth when we were in Baton Rouge, like you had a busy, like that was a busy couple days. And now I know you were Game Fair were you in Game Fair last weekend?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but you're not there this weekend, obviously.
No,
No,
we just did the first weekend up there.
Like super busy. And I know, when you just said any day where you get to hang out and talk about duck hunting is a good day, you've been doing a lot of talking about duck hunting lately.
You do. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to share time with so many different people at those shows, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it's a little different in Minnesota than it is in the South.
Right.
In the South, everybody just rolls up on you, North, it's a little bit different. Some guys will walk by and you got to kind of pull them in. They're like, we didn't want to bother you. And I'm like,
yeah,
brother, that's why we're here for.
Well, and
that's right.
And that's what I was like. I was like, man, I'm not going to bug him. So I tell you, I spoke to Dennis when everybody was packing up to leave Sunday. I was like, I'm not bugging the guys. Dennis was walking in from loading the truck up, and I was walking out down that, that storage bay where the trucks and everything was loading up. And I just, hey, Dennis, I'm one of Jeff Coates' buddies. He speaks highly of you, just very quick. And he was busy, I was busy, and we sort of went our own way. But I'm the same way. Like, I love talking to people, but I don't want to be that dude that is just standing there and taking away your time.
Shoot, no, man. We love it so much. We talk a lot on our podcast, Damien, about, same team and you guys, very well the competitive nature of outdoorsmen, especially when you get in the waterfowl world. But we really like relaxing that atmosphere a little bit. So having that opportunity at those shows, and that's another side of it. A lot of these booths you visit, unlike yours and ours, they'll have folks come through a little bit here and there. This is kind of Dennis and I's deal. So we like you said, we load and unload that stuff and hang out all weekend. And
Yeah.
just again, very very thankful for that. And how was you guys' show? I mean, there were a lot of folks down there. I feel like.
There was a lot of folks. So for me, I was in the booth with Real Geese. I went down and helped out the Real Geese booth. And so for me, it was an amazing show because all I had to do was get myself down there. So I didn't have a ton of skin in the game, right? I went down and helped out with the Real Geese. And so and this isn't a slam on the duck expos or nothing, but we were in the second hall, so we weren't as busy in the second hall as everybody was in the first hall. So but what that done is that afforded me the opportunity to move around and to talk to some of the people that I knew at the show. So I had an amazing time. And Real Geese, Craig Mintz and they had a great show as well, because just the connections that you made. Because listen, we live in a digital world where everybody is either text or email or a private message through social media. That show, to be able to get down there and shake hands with people, like, that was amazing. Because I think, I seen you guys, I seen like Jimbo and Rusty Creasy and all those guys, like, they were just floating around the whole show, just shaking hands and meeting people. And you could tell that it was genuine, right? Like, I remember I was talking to Rusty Creasy, and Rusty's like, because I said to him, I said, man, I've heard about Southern hospitality. And he said, it's real, man. It's real. And I said, your turn, right? It's real. And that's what I got being in Baton Rouge. And I've told Craig and Phil all about it. So next year, when it's in Oklahoma, I'm pulling those boys with me. They're coming to Oklahoma with me next year.
Oh,
Just so that they can take it in and get to see what I was so excited about.
yeah, Rusty's a great guy, and all those guys you mentioned, Jimbo, and they're fine, fine men. Phil,
Mm-hmm.
Craig, when the last time you guys got to go to Oklahoma, man?
Never been. I've been
That's
to
gonna be
Missouri,
yeah.
been to Arkansas.
Yeah.
No, I've
Never
never
been to
been
Oklahoma.
through the area at all, really.
So,
Oh, it'll be a good time.
oh, it'll be fun. And they'll pull their family. I'm hoping they get a chance to pull their families down with them and make it a trip and turn it into something that feels like, I'm not bringing my family. I'm coming on my own, and I'm going to have a good time in Oklahoma. So we're getting cowboy hats. I promise you, we're getting cowboy hats.
It's like
Why
our whole crew will probably come down, but it's like Carrie and the boys are perfectly fine to do their own thing. And
Yeah.
I was telling Damien and Phil before that it's like my family's actually happy that, like, even next year for the sportsman show, that I'll be at the booth, because they always get stuck following me around all day, and like we'll literally spend 7 hours and not get through one hall because I stop and talk to absolutely everybody along the way. So they're just glad that this, for next year, I'll be in one spot and they can just go do their own thing and
Yeah.
leave whenever they want. So they'll be fine with Oklahoma City.
Oh, it'll be a great time. We're
So Bill,
excited.
yeah, go
Kind
for
of
it.
like it's kind of like our, a lot of folks ask, I didn't realize there's that many ducks in East Texas. That's where we live.
Mhm.
We're in Tyler, so
Okay.
we're right in between. We're halfway between Shreveport, Louisiana, and Dallas, Texas, right in the middle.
Okay.
And that's why I tell them. And the way these shows have fallen kind of along the same lines, ducks aren't that good here in East Texas. We don't have a lot of our public land doesn't have levees set up that they fill, and it's just you got to catch the water right, catch the weather right kind of deal. But what is cool about the area we live in, I can be to Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, all within 3, 4, 5 hours. So it's very conveniently located to find birds if you don't mind traveling a little bit. And it's funny, these first few shows that Delta has done has worked out perfect. Being in Arkansas just a few minutes away, and Baton Rouge was only 5 hour drive for us, and Oklahoma City, I think, is about a 5 hour drive. So I ain't mad at them.
No, no, not at all. For for you, and just touching on that point, Billy, where you say like you're in East Texas and you've got all of this, prime hunting area that's within, 3-4 hours drive. I know you and Dennis are very relaxed when it comes to this whole world, this whole industry. You're trying to carve your own piece of the pie out of the industry so that, you guys are doing your thing and stuff, but you do keep it really relaxed. So on your travel, like I know the type of people you are, but on your travels, like you must come across some just amazing people on your travels.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's unfortunate. A lot is highlighted about the negatives in our industry, especially when you
Right.
get to public land hunting, and it really is unfortunate because the relationships. Dennis and I have been doing this together. We learned to do it together 30 some years ago, and we've been doing it together every year since. So, and the relationships we built, the people we've met along the way. I mean, we're just like them. They're just like us. We're all just like you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to hang out, share time, and that's other cool. Moving around as much as we do. Um, back in the day, both he's got a company and I had a full time job. So just carving out days here and there that you could just to hit the road so you could go find some success. And what is success if you don't have anybody to share it with?
100%. It could be pretty lonely on the road at 4 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to get to the duck blind, if you're doing it by yourself.
And the thing
Yeah,
I think is still blows my mind, and it's kind of just so foreign for us up here. Is when you see guys on the U.S. side, just the amount of traveling you do, because it's like, yeah, you can spend a few hours and be in a different state, and then the next state. Whereas here, it's like, it's a lifetime dream to just go to the next province over to go hunting, right?
Well, it's funny. Like if I got to drive further than an hour, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know about this. It's kind of
It's like,
far.
well, it's like I'll drive hours to go hunting, but you still don't get anywhere, right?
yeah,
And
you're
it's still
still
in
in
the same
Ontario.
still
Yeah,
the same damn province.
takes you 24 hours to get across Ontario, right? So, yeah, I do. I totally get it. But then, on the other hand, Craig, Phil, and Billy, you can chime in on this too, but um I think the community of friends that you meet along the line, like I only met you guys through Punisher Waterfowl. If not for Punisher Waterfowl, I would never have met you guys, and you guys are some of my closest friends now. Where we try to plan things around one another's schedule so that we can meet up, that we can hunt, that we can, and it's not just during hunting season. We try to do it throughout the year. But same with your friends, Billy. Like it's not just a hunting season. They're not just your friends for those, 60, 90 days. They're your friends all year long, and your relationship is going all year long. It's just the most fun you have is during the waterfowl season.
Well, and
Amen.
to tie into what you're saying earlier about like the whole digital aspect, it's like, yeah, it's like I only met Damien and Phil originally online, and I think Damien and I had been talking for a few years before
We
I
actually
met
met.
any of them, right? And then
Yeah.
the three of us all met. Well, I met the two of you at the same time at a
Yeah.
fundraising event eventually,
Yeah.
and so it's nice that it's like you've got that digital aspect, then and you've got that common interest of hunting and just the friendships that you can form with just random people that you met on the internet, right? Like after all those years of our parents warning us not to do such things, and next thing you know, you're meeting up with some random people at 4 o'clock in the morning in the dark to go hunting and hope everything turns out, right?
Stranger danger.
Yeah.
Well, my wife makes like she'll say to like I'll go hunting sometimes. She'll be like, "Who you hunting with tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Oh, just some guy." And
Yeah.
she'll be like, "Well, who is it?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just we've been
Some guy in a
chatting.
van.
Yeah, we've been chatting and stuff." And she's like, "And you're just going to go hunting with him?" I was like, I don't know. It's different. If it's a duck hunter, it's just different. You just kind of feel safe. I don't think there's any real concern there.
And
Watch,
you're
there'll be a
ultimately you're
serial.
armed.
Yeah, watch now. There'll be a serial killer that comes out that's a duck hunter or something now, and
Now they know
that'll
you're
get.
an easy target.
Yeah, yeah,
Free
yeah,
candy.
exactly. Yeah, free candy. Billy, what do you guys got coming up this fall? Because I know you guys are very busy during the fall too, right? So like any big trips planned this fall? Recording, anything massive coming up this year?
You know, we don't. I'll be honest. We try to historically. We try to kind of let the birds dictate where we go, how all that works out, and I guess I should really say weather.
Yeah,
Uh, like I just, for example, we like hitting the Arkansas opener in the trees is always a big deal to us. We enjoy doing that, but last few years, they've dictated what periods of the season that we can access their public land.
right.
And during that first 10-day session they allowed us last year, there was just no water. So we felt it was in our best interest to go a different direction. So we kind of just ride the wave per se of where we can find birds. There have been a few years where we make some arrangements on a couple trips
Yeah.
that are a little out of the ordinary for us. I'm gonna be honest. This year we're gonna head a little bit west. We've been to the Pacific Northwest and enjoyed the beautiful backdrop of what they have to offer up there, and obviously the more liberal limits. I mean,
Yeah.
7 mallards a day is so nice, which
Yeah.
you guys know all about it. But
Well, you go to Saskatchewan and it's 8.
Yeah.
is it really?
Yeah.
You're
Eight
killing me.
mallards, and there's no hen limit or whatever. It's
Yeah.
8 mallards.
8 mallards. Yeah.
Dennis would pop my head off if I shot 8 mallard hens. But we are going to do something different. We're going to hit a new state this year. That's kind of something we talked about doing last year. Just trying some new things. Dennis, his passion is finding birds. So going to an area we've never been before. And I'm not going to lie, we make connections all over the place.
Of course.
And we will swing through and utilize one of those connections. But the first thing that we're going to do when we get there is hit public ground and start looking for birds. You learn more about it. We feel like when you do that work on your own, obviously a little more rewarding. And we have the time to do that. So we are going to take a trip to a new state west of Texas, see if we can't find a mallard in an odd spot. There's a really good chance, honestly, Damien, that we slide into your part of the country again. That's something we've not done. We haven't been to Canada in 5, 6 years, 7 years,
buddy.
maybe.
Oh, buddy.
So we still visit the Dakotas every year, but
Yeah.
I've got a guy up there. We've got a friend who lets us set up kind of camp at his property.
Yep.
Saskatchewan, and we kind of filter out from there and find birds. But I've got another buddy who's, I guess, they guide up there, and we may do a couple days of freelance because we're going to be in North Dakota anyway. So we're thinking we may slide over, go visit that guy, shake hands, and then do a little bird hunting up there, just to say we got back in. It's always such a wonderful trip up there. You guys have beautiful country, and I tell you, I'll never forget the first time I ever visited Canada. We were driving around scouting, trying to find birds, and we stopped in. I won't remember the name of the hamburger joint, but it's a chain up there.
Yeah.
And we're having a burger, and we're in camo clothing, and a very old, short, barely moving woman was in line behind us, and she said, "I guess you guys are hunting." "Yes, ma'am." "What are y'all hunting?" "We're hunting ducks." She says, "Well, I can't get them dang things off my property. I got ducks everywhere. You're welcome to come shoot all you want." And I mean, it was just everything about it was a really great experience. Unless you had to buy snuff or beer, that was kind of hard on the wallet. But
Yeah.
That hurts.
That do. But that's one of the great, wonderful things about hunting up in Canada is that we don't have the pressure on birds like you guys do, especially in the southern states, right? So Louisiana, Missouri, Arkansas, heck, even Texas, all those states have a massive amount of pressure. So when you do make the trip up to Canada, it's usually a good trip because we just don't have the pressure. The numbers aren't there, and the farmers, they don't want that giant spread of snows coming in and decimating their crop, or the Canada's being all over the place. So they're usually very welcoming and will allow you. But now I don't know, and someone can chime in on this if they've heard it, because I looked for it yesterday and I couldn't find any definitive proof. But I was told yesterday that if you are coming into, so Manitoba came out with rules last year, some new rules about Americans coming up and if they want a guide. I don't know exactly how that all played out, but there were some regulations for Americans coming up and hunting into Manitoba. So then I was told yesterday that in Alberta now, I don't think it's Saskatchewan, but in Alberta now, if you're an American coming up, you can only buy a 7-day license. So you buy your license to hunt Alberta, you're given 7 days. Now, those 7 days are up. If you want another one, you got to buy another one, but to a max of 14 days is what you're allowed if you're an American coming up to hunt. I don't know if it's true. That's what I was told by somebody that said that they were told it. I tried to find it. I couldn't find it. And I'm not here to get into that conversation on if, we should be limiting Americans from coming up and hunting and stuff like that. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But because I know we have a lot of people that listen that are from the States, it's new, so you may want to double check before you plan that trip up into Canada. There could be some new regulations, and don't forget the CDC in the States with bringing your dog back into America. That's being a bit wonky too. So make sure you do your homework.
Heaven forbid you'd want people coming up and like supporting the economy, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think the majority of Canadians understand that all the outfitters that are out west, they're making their money off Americans.
Yeah.
Canadians aren't spending the money.
Buddy, the spring black bear hunt. So just a quick history lesson, Billy. Number of years ago, so like it's like kind of central Ontario, like a lot of their money is all tourism. Like there's no industry. Like there's a handful of loggers and that's it.
Yeah.
So number of years ago, they canceled, like completely obliterated the spring bear hunt for black bears in like central Ontario. Towns were closing.
Yeah.
Because they relied so heavily on that tourism income, and like a lot of guys coming up from like Michigan, New York, people from Southern Ontario pumping the money into these communities.
Yeah.
And like towns were folding because that was the only thing they had to like support their families.
Why'd they do that?
Right.
Well,
politics.
It's the government.
It's politics, Billy's,
Yeah, it was strictly politics.
Because somebody said, well, we shouldn't be shooting black bears, so they stood on their soapbox, and then the local politician listened to them and changed it, and they're nearly decimated those communities that's up there, right? That's the thing. Like, so, Billy, you talked about freelance, like you're going up there freelancing, right? And then there's that argument, well, they're freelancing, they're not paying the money to the guy. Yeah, but they still got to get a hotel room. They still got to eat at the restaurants. They got to buy their fuel. They got to buy all of this. So the money is still going into the economy. It's just, I just wish that sometimes people would look at the broader picture than just narrowing in. And Billy, you talked about it earlier when you said it's so nice to travel and do your thing, and you and Dennis are doing your thing and meeting all the people because you focus on the friendships and the fun of the hunt and not the negative, and you don't get caught up in the negative stuff, right? And I think that's what we need more of. I think that's what you're seeing I'm a believer that the trade shows are making a comeback. It's not a popular opinion, but I believe it because I think guys like us miss the off season of being able to hang around and talk with people that are coming out with new products to find out what news coming out or what's new in their life or whatever. I think we miss the trade shows and being able to go out and interact during the off season. I do think that the trade shows are making a comeback. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I would agree with you completely. I don't know if they'll come back with the number of shows.
Right.
However,
Yeah.
the quality of these things that these guys are putting on is outstanding. And you're talking about the money that the outdoorsman spends when he visits other states or other countries like you guys. The same thing kind of falls to these trade shows, right?
Yeah.
The I mean, Dennis and I, we sell hats, shirts, bags. Being able to go to these shows and meet, shake hands, offer our products direct to our niche consumer in one place is huge. And
Yeah.
and not just for us, obviously, for everybody that attends that event.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys that are coming in there, they all about duck hunting, and
That's your
being
people.
able to have a booth and offer these products at these trade shows, like you said, the consumer shows, they're great, and these guys that are putting them on right now are doing a really good job with them, and I don't think they're going anywhere. But
I don't think
and
so either, buddy.
I don't mean to dig into. I know you say you didn't want to necessarily go down that road, but when you're talking about letting Americans in to hunt in you guys' area, we're dealing with the same thing here. I mean, for me to Arkansas dictates how many days, when I can come.
Yep.
South Dakota it's a draw only state. We can't hunt South Dakota this year because we weren't selected in that lottery. There are
Really?
states, yes, sir. When you go to the coast in Texas, if you visit Missouri, there are, a number of public properties that even if the state lets you in, you got to draw to get access to those properties. So that's something that Dennis and I have been working very hard to discuss with policymakers in our country. You guys are well informed, sharp dudes. I know you understand. We are not adding a lot of guns to the waterfowl world.
No, we are not.
That's right. It's been a diminishing sport, and now the last 2 years look promising, but overall numbers now compared to 10, 15, 20 years ago are not very good at all. Nope. And if we continue as states and or as countries limiting access to do this, it's just going to drive more and more people out of it, and it's going to be such a bad situation. So that's kind of part of the conversation we're trying to have down here. I understand that areas can seem crowded, but how you define that, and are there really issues that, I mean, in our country, the Pittman-Robertson Act those funds are being utilized on all kind of state properties.
Yep.
So to not allow outdoorsmen to come in where essentially funds that they spend are helping preserve and maintain properties such as that. It's tough. It's a tough pill for me to swallow. And I think it's even tougher pill for the younger guys who are trying to get out and hunt. Maybe they don't have as many ducks, and we all know it's harder, at least on our side of the border. It's so much harder now than it was 10 years ago to get permission. Mm-hmm. So when we start limiting access to public land, these young kids, they just don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, go for it, Craig.
I was just going to say, like, that's a topic I've heard a lot on different podcasts and that as well. It's like, as you have fewer people hunting and without all those funds to fund all the conservation efforts and that out there, the backpackers aren't picking up that slack or anything, right? Like so where do those, as they try and do more and more cuts to hunting and do whatever they can to discourage people from hunting and getting out of it, what are they replacing it with? Is it they
Well-
want people to still go out and enjoy these spaces, but you're not going to have the protections there. You're not going to have the conservation efforts there. So where's that money come from? Where's that
Well-
support come from?
A really good point, Craig, because listen, if you we all know it, and we've said it on this show a million times, and Billy, I know you and Dennis have talked about it. Like, we're the biggest conservation protectors that there are, hunters.
That's right.
We spend so, and the Pittman Robertson Act, Pittman, big name. But that act down in the States, like, that's everything. Like, you go to Cabela's in the States, and part of that money that you spend in Cabela's, that goes into that fund. So, like, it is a major envelope of money that's going into it. You take the hunters out of that envelope is going to shrink, and is going to shrink fast. And there's no coming, like, once you cut fellas out and ladies, once you cut people out and they say, well, that's enough of that, you're not going to get them back.
And I thought I pretty sure I heard at one point there was a proposal, and I don't know if maybe California or something, but they had proposed putting a similar sort of tax on, like the hiking gear and stuff like that. And man, did that get defeated real fast, right?
Wow.
Because again, there's no appetite for that.
No.
And I can get it now too, because like obviously that was put in place a long time ago. So things are different now, right? Cost of things are already up. And I know like you hear people saying like we need that, something like that in Canada, and that'd be great. But the problem is our taxes are so high on everything anyways.
Yeah.
So it's like, what room is there to add an excise tax like that on our hunting gear, right? Like it would just be another nail in the coffin of people just not hunting.
Billy, do you guys have that? Because I know I did it last March, and I was surprised how many Canadian duck hunters or Ontario duck hunters didn't realize that part of their migratory bird stamp money goes, we call it Wildlife Habitat Canada is our organization, and part of our federal money that's collected on that bird stamp goes to them so that they keep protecting habitat for ducks. Do you have do you find that you have to educate people on that? Like, do they know where their money for their duck stamp goes? Because one thing, so there's talk here in Canada, we haven't increased the cost of our federal duck stamp in a long time. And there's talk that, well, maybe we need to raise it an extra $1 or whatever the amount is. I don't know what it is. And there's been why are we paying more money for a duck stamp? We shouldn't have to pay more money for a duck stamp. Well, everything costs more now than what it did 10 years ago and stuff like that. But we have, I don't want to say a lot, but we have a significant amount of people that don't realize that the money from the duck stamp goes back into protecting the habitat and all those programs to make sure that we have birds. Do you have to have that same kind of conversation with people that you come across?
Absolutely. Obviously, you have some well-informed, much better informed individuals in the sport than myself. But there are, I would say, a larger number of folks that really just get in. Hey, this is what we do. And I was in those same shoes years and years ago. September 1st hits, we all go buy a hunting and fishing license.
Yep.
I mean, it's what you do the 1st of September to be prepared, because you're going to be outside all winter. Wasn't really much thought into that, but as Phil mentioned earlier, or Craig, I'm sorry, the conservationists, we're funding all of this.
Yeah.
And it's easy for a guy who doesn't understand that to say, you know what, maybe I had a bad experience duck hunting, and or Arkansas, I live in Alabama and we don't have ducks here. I want to slide to Arkansas. They won't let me anymore. So you know what? Maybe I'm just not going to do that this year. That hurts. That hurts. It hurts the federal government, the state government, everybody's ability to help maintain and continue to conserve. And I think a lot of people don't realize when they quit spending that money, what it does to the program. So I do think you find yourself having to have that conversation, and I believe it's a very important conversation to have. And the other side of that is, being as that's our funds, these guys need to listen to us.
100%.
The continued regulations you mentioned, do your homework.
Yeah.
Brother, you couldn't be more accurate. And, dealing with some of these states here in the South, every year they're changing so many regulations. And it's
Right.
not just statewide, it's from piece of property to piece of property. So, guys like Dennis and I who move around to so many different properties through the course of a season, it'll make your head spin trying to figure out, you can't go in here till this time versus, oh, I thought it was that time. Well, now you got to check in on this property. Well, I don't do that over there, but make sure you only have 15 shells. I know you can carry a case over there, but over here you can only carry 15 shells with you. You can only use a 25 horse in this WMA, but you can run whatever you want on the back of your boat over in this one. So it's enough and that's something else that can be very difficult for these young guys,
Yeah.
and I see a lot of tickets handed out to people that just don't know.
Yeah.
So when you talk about that, there are a lot of good conversations we could be having.
Hey everybody, this is Kyle Smock with Show Me Ducks, a proud sponsor of Punisher Waterfowl's The Refuge this March at the Toronto Sportsman Show. Come check us out in The Refuge to see the Deep Diver 2.0, the Ice Quacker, and the Mini Quacker.
Well, I laugh, like I see some of the videos and stuff like down south where like you can't run your motor until after 4 a.m. or something, right? So you see you see these launch videos like 4 a.m. It's like 60 boats driving over each other.
Indianapolis 500 coming out the gates, right? Yeah.
It's nuts. And a lot of people complain. So like here in Texas, and not all the tech, we're doing the same thing here. Different properties have different rules, but the majority of our lakes, if you just want to go duck on a public lake where public hunting is allowed, if I go out there and scout and this is how kind of Dennis got popular. If he goes out and scouts Wednesday or Thursday before the Saturday opener, he finds ducks, odds are he's going to call me and he's going to say, hey, I need you to bring my tent or my hammock, bring me a pizza or a box of fried chicken. I found them and I ain't leaving till we hunt them Saturday. And
that's dedication.
Just how he is. And the thing is, there ain't no boat race.
Yeah.
There's no issue. He's in the hole or close to the hole. He's not going to disturb those birds, but he's going to stay close enough to the hole where he can cut any traffic off. And he's going to sit there till we hunt them. Then you slide over a state and they're like, we don't want you getting out. So you have to sit in a line with your boat till 2. They'll let you dock your boat out at 2. So now you got 40, 50, 60 trucks trying to jockey for a spot at the front of the line, docking out at 2 a.m. But you can only line up in the ditch because you can't go past the pole or the gate at the end of the ditch until 4 a.m.
Wow.
And then obviously you got shooting lights. So you got all these little subsections of time. It gets, you're creating situations, they have eliminated the boat races in a lot of areas, but they're always having to pile on more regulations. So when you let everybody go at 4, obviously you had the races. So now they let everybody go, you got to go single file. So now it's illegal to pass anybody. And then they found out, okay, once you leave the ditch, I still got people passing people inside the trees when there's enough water to run your boat in the trees. So you know what? We need to put a rule in now. You can't pass anybody in the trees. I don't know what kind of motor y'all run if you run a boat, but if you coming up in a surface drive behind an outboard that come off pad and got stuck on a log, that thing ain't got no brakes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
Mayhem.
I wonder how much thought really goes into some of this stuff, but it could, like I said, it could make your head spin.
Well, it's crazy to think that you guys have more regulation than us in Canada sometimes, right? Like that just blows my mind.
That's what I'm getting at it is.
Gun laws.
Yeah. But that's what I'm getting from this, Craig, is like, Billy, I've never heard of, like, I've heard of like some of those regulations, but from county or property to property, like I never I had never known that you guys had those type of regular. And I get it. There's a lot more pressure down there, and there's a lot more people that's hunting, and I understand it. Why we don't have them, and you do. But I have never heard of some of those regulations that you're talking about. Like, and it's over a bird. That's what. Like, listen, don't get me wrong. There,
A wet duck.
like you have, I'm sure you do, and Phil and Craig know, but the lengths that I will go to shoot greenheads is amazing. But I'm not ready to run somebody over with my boat for a greenhead.
Or you see some of these guys with running shoes going through the swamp, and then their buddies walk behind with all the equipment, and like, here's your waders and your fresh pair of socks.
Yeah, like that. It's for a bird. Like, I get it. Like, it's a passion. We love it, and it's nothing. We don't want to do anything else, but do that. And I'm with you. But listen, I'm not about to swamp a boat so I can get at the greenheads quicker than you. Like, I'm not going to do it.
When I saw one of your videos, Billy, is it what was his name, Hunter? Where it's like, yeah, like 4 o'clock, it's like he's running through the bush to go get the spot, and then you guys are following through with the boat and stuff, right? Like, it's crazy to think of us having to do that up here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, again, no pressure, right? Like, we complain in Ontario that there's too much pressure in Ontario, and especially like none of us are very far from the Toronto area.
We don't know pressure.
We don't know pressure.
For us, it's more so the pressure that, because everything's private property in that, right? Like, there is some public, but it's not the same sort of system you guys have. So the pressure we have is just to get somewhere to hunt. But yeah, like, we don't have the crowds and the stuff that you see on the videos coming from the States and that, right?
But yeah, like, we don't have the public land that you guys have, right? Like, you guys, like, your governments, your state governments hold public land and will not give it up, right?
We've got Luther and Hullet. That's pretty much it.
Like, we don't have a whole lot of public land. It's agriculture or private property, unless it's a body of water. Usually, a body of water is usually open game. Like, but again, if the birds aren't there, then what's the point to go? So you got to go. So if there's birds there, chances are there's going to be a pile of people that's hunting it too, right? Like Luther. I've never went on Luther, Phil, just because I know it's a shit show. Like, Luther's a shit show, so I don't even bother to go, because I don't want to put up with I don't want to deal with the headache, and I don't want to deal with the
biggest thing. Just don't go on a Saturday.
Yeah, fair.
Like midweek, it's not like you're gainfully employed.
Yeah,
no offense.
No, I'm retired. I'm retired.
You go.
Hey, I done 20 years
in.
I done 20 years in the Army.
You go like midweek,
I'm
whatever,
good.
and like, it's,
I had a conversation with a fella today. I'm not going to say his name, but I'm going to tell you it was an amazing conversation. And we were talking, Billy, and I think you would agree with what this guy was telling me. So we were chatting. He's in the industry. He's a big sales guy for one of the big brands. And we were just chatting and stuff, and talking about relationships and all that kind of stuff. And he told me, he said, if I've got any advice to give you, Damien, he said, this is the advice I'm going to give you when you're talking to a brand and they're talking about a relationship with you. If they say to you that you need to stand on your soapbox and say, this brand is the best brand there is, there are no other brands out there, but this brand, walk away from them. And he said, and I'll tell you why. He said, because I'm in the business of promoting waterfowlers. I work for a brand. I want that brand to succeed, but I want waterfowlers to succeed. I want more waterfowl, because he touched on the same thing you did. We're less numbers now than we were 5 years ago. And he is, if I've ran out of gun cases and I know the other brand has gun cases, I'll send them to them, because I want that guy or girl to go out Saturday morning, and I don't want them not having a gun case to stop them from going out and buying their duck stamp or going out and doing a hunt that morning. And I had said to him, I said, man, I've talked to a lot of really good people in the time that I've been doing this, and they've all talked about the community and how we look after everybody. And I believe every one of them, because every one of them have shown it that that's the type of attitude they have. But I've never heard somebody say, hey, listen, I will send somebody to a rival if it means they're going to get out hunting and they're going to be able to take their kid or take their significant other or whatever it is. As long as they're out and they're buying their stamp, then my brand wins. And that was the way he looked at it.
That's awesome. You know, Dennis has made, we talk all the time about, I mentioned it earlier, this same team mantra, understanding we're all you talk about the wet duck, that's what we're all doing. There's no reason we all can't get along. We're all going about it the same way, or we hope that we are, and if we're not, that's something we talk about and try to address as well. But something that's lost in that a lot, Dennis has made a big point to talk about the last few years, is in the industry with these companies. And you're right, I would agree with that, and I would praise that gentleman for kind of rolling against the tide, because the last few years, it seems these companies within this industry have been just competitive.
Yeah.
You know, you got to wear this or nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm with you guys on that. Obviously, we have partners that we work with.
Of course.
And we have good relationships with those guys. And I'm going to tell you, you know, being partners with Realtree, our videos, you'll see guys in those videos who may not be in Realtree. Before we moved to Realtree, that was a big issue. Hey, you guys are sponsored by X. You're doing videos with X. Everything needs to be X. Nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's just not the real world. And you know, Realtree has been a great partner and very open to understanding that. Look, at the end of the day, we are on the same team.
Yep.
What we do together is important, and that's a more important message. And I applaud that, and I hope that we see a lot more of that across these companies in the waterfowl world.
I think, and Phil and Craig will probably laugh at me when I say this word, but there is this maturation of us, and I think this is what you're seeing. You're seeing more and more people now where, hey, listen, it doesn't matter. I can tell you that none of my friends will make fun of somebody that only gets out to hunt once a week. You'll never hear it, because, hey, listen, you work 5 days a week and you've got kids that got a soccer game, a football game, and you're only able to get out once a week. Why are you going to go spend $1,000 on a jacket or a new set of waders or whatever? You're only out once a week. I don't care. Just get out, buy your stamp and share, you know, the whole, I don't know what it is, whatever you would call it, but what it is that gets you out and what makes you love chasing these ducks. Because God knows, it's not every day it's full limits, and it's not nice days.
It's not for the comfort.
It's not for the comfort. It's not for the, you know.
Who doesn't like standing in water freezing your buns off?
Well, I tell you, in the moment it's not fun, but it's usually those are the hunts that are the most memorable and the ones that you laugh the most about, because you know your buddy is freezing. He's complaining because his hands are cold and he couldn't shoulder his gun or he couldn't pull the trigger, and now you're just laughing at him. Those are the most memorable hunts. 100%.
Oh yeah, as soon as that trigger finger moves, you forget how cold it is.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the best part is grabbing the barrel after a while. warm your head. I've done that many a times. You get into a good volley and you're like hugging your gun.
Yeah.
Trying to warm up.
But I think that is, you guys do a podcast and you do a great job with it, and it's out to a pile of people. But I think that's the beauty about podcasts. Social media has some really good things, but it has some bad things about it as well. But this podcast community that's just surging right now, and there's a lot of podcasts out there, and there's something for everybody out there. But I think that is one of the central messages that you're getting from all these podcasts is like just get out there and just have fun, and you don't have to be a jerk. You just it at the end of the day, it's a bird. It's a wet duck, like you said, Billy. You don't have to be a jerk. There's lots of birds. You're gonna get your birds. Just be a decent human being. And I think that's one of the really good things about the podcast is that you do it, I do it, or we do it, and then all these other podcasts, they're trying to get that message out. And I think it's having an effect. It's slow, but it's having an effect.
I would agree with you, and I appreciate your insight there, Damien. That's what it's going to take. Guys like you, guys like Dennis and I, just continuing to talk about it, reaching who we can when we can. And man, you nailed it a while ago. You talk about that guy who's only got a day or two. That was me, man, for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I managed. I had 250 something employees. I had 265 contractors.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
I mean, I had something to do 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to carve out time to get my boys out there and get after a duck. We may not get any, but you better watch out because I'm coming.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come with all I got. But I'm not going to step on nobody's neck. And that's what you were saying earlier. And I appreciate that very much. And I couldn't tell you how many times. Look, a lot of times we win a lot of holes. We win a lot of the spots that we want to get because Dennis is that kind of guy. We get beat just as much.
Yeah.
And when we do, man, he's the greatest in the world about, man, shaking hands. Y'all get them. Can't wait to see how y'all do. We're going to slide down here, and we're not going to slide around the corner and shoot you swings. We going to plan B or C, and we getting way out the way.
Yeah.
And you can be a nice guy. You can kill a lot of ducks. I've watched Dennis do it for 30-something years now. And I know you know the same thing. And like I said, I appreciate you making that point because I think some people kind of lose that along the way for one reason or another. And it's a great reminder.
Well, for the boys like Craig and Phil, like we had Eric Massey and Bobby Hayes on the show way back, like I'm talking a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, they were on the show. And that was, I remember Eric Massey from Tangle Free, like that was Eric's big thing, saying, listen, like if you only get out once a week, then good. Go out once a week. That's all that matters. If that's all you can,
at least you're getting out.
At least you're getting out. And Eric was the type, he was like, I am not going to judge you because you only get out once a week. You're as busy as you are and you're still finding time to get out, buddy. That's impressive. And this is where the danger of social media, because, and like I was talking to that gentleman today, right? And we were just chatting about things, and I said, well, in Canada, there's always been this attitude, well, you don't need to spend a pile of money on gear, and you don't need to spend a pile of money on gear to go hunt ducks. But if you want the big brands from the States to come up to Canada, and you want them to invest in getting product into Canada and having a distributor and doing all the things to make it available to Canadians, well, then you need to spend money. And we didn't, in my opinion anyways, we didn't have that attitude. We were just, it's just birds, whatever I need to do. I don't need to go buy that jacket. I don't need to go buy all this to go hunt birds. But now, and I think this is the bad effect of social media, is that, and I'm not picking on the 20-something-year-olds. That's not what I'm doing. I'm picking on the new hunter that looks to social media and thinks every hunt has to be a pile. It has to be a lights out, amazing hunt with everything coming together and working out for you, and you're done within an hour of legal time. That is not reality, and so far away from reality. So now I think what's happening up here in Canada is that the majority of those new hunters have now matured to the fact that, hey, listen, what I see on social media, I get it. That's 3 days hunting for them to make that 20-second reel. Not every day is a banger. And I think that's where we're at right now. In Canada, we are seeing a shift right now in Canada where, oh, okay, so I don't have to have a limit every day. Oh, I only got one bird. That's fine. That's all that worked for me. There's no pressure anymore on fellas, and now fellas are okay. So now I'm willing to spend the money. I get it. I understand. I want this company up to Canada, and I want to buy their gear, and I want to use their gear. And now they're starting to open up their pocketbooks, and they're starting to spend the money, and that's a really good thing that's happening in Canada right now, because a long time we had a lot of people that just complained but weren't willing, ready to do anything. Now we're starting to see people, they're not complaining, they're just putting their money where their mouth is, and they're spending money. And now as a waterfowler in Canada, the amount of gear we have our access to compared to 10 years ago, night and day.
Well, I was going to say the same thing in regard to kind of that shift in social media and YouTube and the stuff that's going out there, where you're seeing more like your videos, Billy, where it's like, yep, we didn't get to the spot. We rushed out there, still got beat, and we got adduct today, sort of thing, right? Like you're seeing more of that, and I think more people are picking up on it because, at the beginning of things like Facebook or before that, when all you had were like the the forums and stuff like that, right? It's like, what was the big complaint for anybody who'd been hunting a long time? It's like, oh, all these new guys, they don't have the ethics. They don't have, because so many people are getting into it later on. They didn't come into it with their dad or their grandfather, right? These people are coming in brand new. So that was always the big complaint. Like, these guys don't get it. They don't understand the work, the ethics. But I think even just a lot, it's been pretty recent where like that shift, I think, is getting pretty noticeable.
It
And
is.
yeah, like the videos are totally different now. It's like every video I watch, the majority of what I see is the guys, it's like, yep, we thought it was going to pan out, and here's our two birds for the day, right? After spending the last 3 days trying to get this spot to have it not come together for us. So I think there's definitely that shift happening.
Well, I think you make a great point. And in all honesty, we grew up watching videos where they might incorporate multiple hunts and or a
Yeah.
spot that they've let rest for that situation. Uh, when we put out videos like you're talking about, it just shows we relate.
Yeah.
We're not anything different than you guys or anybody else we hunt with out there. We're exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that way of life that we talk about, it's not all the ducks in your pocket. That way of life that we talk about is being outdoors, experiencing outdoors, and that journey. And as you mentioned earlier, Damon, that sharing that journey with others, whether it be your family, your friends, new people you meet. And then when you show on top of it the fact that I posted a picture a couple years ago, it was the best hunt of the year. And there was 11 of us, I think, I don't know, 9 maybe. And we're all holding up an empty duck tote. We didn't shoot a single bird, but we had 3 or 4 new guys, and we had a guy that we had been communicating with on social media for such a long time, who we finally got to share time with. So, and we hung out that night before, just camping out and ate together, and that's we're just like everybody else, and those are the experiences that, just like you said, that make it what it is. It doesn't matter if you come out with 0 ducks, 4 ducks, 48, 100, whatever. It's not any less memorable to me. People ask all the time, where was your favorite duck hunt? That's such a hard question for me to answer, because every single one of them, they all have, once you get to that point, I couldn't even pronounce that big word you used earlier.
Maturation.
Thank you for that.
I try to throw it out as much as possible, Billy, so I sound smart.
Hey, I stay away from long words, but it's a great statement. And you know, once you start to realize those things and enjoy it for what it is, it really takes it to a new level, I think.
I agree with you. I think it do. Once you I'll use this term that we used in the army all the time. Once you dumb it down to what it is, and that is getting up in the morning, taking your dog, and going out, and you're going to try to outsmart something with a brain that it's this big, but it'll fool you every time. Once you dumb it down to that, and that's all it is, it's a pretty magical thing. My thing, and the boys will laugh at me, is these you'll see fellas on the morning, right? They show the sunrise. There is nothing I love more than having everything set up and it's still pitch black. Everything's set. You're just waiting for legal time. You pour your coffee and you wait and watch the world wake up. There is not, I love sunrise pics. Love sunrise pics. I love it because that is probably my most favorite part of the hunt, is sitting there sipping on my coffee and hearing that hen mallard behind me just going nuts and just getting excited because they're here. And now the game begins. Now I've got to trick that bird into coming over here. And that is the most amazing thing. Everybody's got their reason, right? That gets them going. I just absolutely love watching the world wake up and to hear that hen mallard behind me quacking, and then it's go time. It's ready. And maybe I don't get it. Maybe I don't get her. Maybe I don't get him.
Hey, amen. You and I, we cut from the same cloth for sure. I couldn't tell you how many kids at that moment you're talking about that I've had the opportunity to share time with in a duck hole, and I'm like, you know what? It could end right here, right now. We've done a lot today, and they're like, Mr. Billy, we just now set up. We ain't even hunted yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but you understand what you're hearing and what you're seeing. You know how many people in this world right now are still trying to inhale their pillow?
Yeah.
It's a really big number. I mean, it's
that's a hashtag. I'm going to use that hashtag from now on. Inhale your pillow. I love that.
Well, and just the fact that you're there, right? Like all the other crap you could be stuck doing at that minute, and it's like you're just sitting there taking it in.
You're exactly right.
Nothing better than this fresh smell of swamp mud in the morning.
It's just like I really can't wait, and I know everybody says they're excited, and I just can't wait. I can't wait to hear them in the morning, or when you're driving at pitch black in your boat and you're pushing them up and you're just excited. You're like, they're here. Like this spot is good. Like you're just so excited because you know they're here and you know the game is about to start. Now you've done everything that in your power. You're there. Now the real work begins. Now you've got to trick them into coming into your spread so that you could get them. And yeah, there's nothing like it.
Damien, let me ask you this. I get in trouble a lot over this, but I'm going to ask you before I say why.
Yeah.
When you set up there, it's still dark. It's that moment and you hear her over there quacking. Are you going to talk back to her?
100%. Every time. 100% every time.
I grabbed them calls real quick and I try to emulate her exactly the same. It makes Dennis so mad because he's afraid I'm gonna give up our position. You can't give up our position. I'm like, brother, we gotta let her know we over here.
That's right.
I mean, the first thing we want them to do when they get up is come right here.
Absolutely.
Bring your friends.
Yeah. No,
but I'm with you on that.
100%. Well, and I'll tell you, I'm not a great caller. I can call, but I'm not a great caller. So I take it as a challenge. If she's quacking, if I can quack back to her and it doesn't stop her from quacking, that tells me I'm doing a good job. And that's my biggest reason. I'm like, hey, I got 15 minutes to burn. Let's have a talk with Susie. And if I can keep talking to Susie for 15 minutes before legal time, then I think it's wonderful. And you talked about it, like have somebody new that's never experienced it in the pitch black, and you're talking back to a duck, and you guys are going back and forth. But it's pretty because you could look at that dude and go, he's talking to the duck.
It's the duck whisperer.
Like, but as a kid or as a new hunter, not just a kid, but anybody that's never ever experienced it, like that's an aha moment when you go, that dude's talking to that duck.
That's right.
That's like when you get somebody out brand new for turkey hunting too, right? Like the first time, like you hear the robins start and the crows start, and the first time somebody hears the turkey when it's still dark like that, like it's the look on people's faces when they get to experience that, right?
Dennis, buddy, or sorry, Billy, buddy, we could keep going. If you want to keep going, we can. But if you got stuff that you got to get done, we totally get it. So you decide on when we shut her down, because this has been great and we could keep going for another. Now, I know Phil probably got something on the go because Phil's a pretty important dude, and got really important jobs to do. Not like me. I'm retired, buddy. I retired from the Army, and this is my job now. So
we can start to wind it up. We could save conversation for a part 2. I think it'd be fun to kind of schedule out a part 2 when we get into season. Just kind of talk about you guys are cheaters up there. You get to start way earlier than we do, man.
We got all of them heated corn ponds too.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear about that, but when you guys get into your season of what it looks like, I think that's just numbers that you guys are going to be experiencing is a good indication. And obviously as those numbers trend downward later in the year, that means a good thing for us guys further south of you. But I do want to, I know you hear this and I know you hate to hear it. But I'm very thankful for your service. My son just retired from the military as well.
Attaboy. What branch?
He was the Army Ranger.
Yes, sir. So so tell him I tried to get my sapper tab. He'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But that your son is a lot tougher than what I am. I'll tell you that.
All you guys are another level of tough. I tell everybody I don't regret very much in my life. I'm getting to be an old man, and I know I've been around a lot of people when they get close to the bottom of that hill on the backside, and a lot of them have, I wish I'd done this or I wish I'd done that. And I've lived a really good life, and I'm very thankful for a lot of the opportunities, and I've tried to make the most of it. If there was one regret at all my entire life, it would have been not having the cojones to do what you and my son did. And I just want to thank you for that. And like I said, I know he can't. He hates when people say that to him, but I really do admire what you've done, and it's a big deal. I understand that, and I'm very thankful for that. But I think.
Hey, Billy, I needed a job, buddy. I needed a job. And the Army was the only person that was going to take me. And let's just say it how it is. I was 23 years old, living with my mom and dad, and I was like, I got to do something. I tried everything. The Army was the last option. I joined the Army, but I have zero regrets because it was the absolute best thing for me, and it made me into who I am. So, thank you for the kind words, but you don't, because your son tells you, you don't have to say it. But thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Boys, let's do a quick round the table. We'll give the last words to Billy, and then we'll call it off. But I am going to hold you I'm going to hold you to it. We're going to do a part 2 of this, probably somewhere around October, November.
I
Yeah,
like it.
big time. Craig, to you first, my man.
Yeah. Billy, good to meet and talk with you. And the only other thing I wanted to add is when we got talking about the bird stamps, I was trying to look it up to see how many stamps are sold in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's on average like 200,000 every year. So you're talking about upping that $1. How much is that? Right? Like
Yeah.
it's even if we upped it $1 and you're selling 200,000 of them, that's not
Yeah.
that's pennies to put back into anything. So I think
Good point.
if anybody has complaints about $1, I don't think that's enough for the amount of money we spend.
Yeah.
And for how cheap that stamp is compared to other licenses for deer, bear, things like that. Like I think people need to consider that. What's an
Oh.
extra $1 when only 200,000 people are
Craig's gone, Jesus Christ, and the Technicolor
Oh.
Dream Coat.
doing it again, eh?
Yeah.
I see that too. I was wondering about this.
Philly, to you, my man.
Billy, absolute pleasure having you on. Like I've been following you and Dennis on YouTube for the longest time, watching your guys' episodes. Absolutely love the content you guys are putting out. Keep up the great work, and really looking forward to seeing more from you guys this season.
Thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate the opportunity to share the time. It's been I've really enjoyed the conversation, and Damien, we definitely gonna all get together and do it again. I need a mid-season report, and Craig,
Absolutely.
I agree. If I know they're going to be squeakers when you add that dollar or whatever amount you would determine to add to that, but I mean, does anybody here disagree that you wouldn't kick in an extra $5 or $10 if that's what it took to ensure continued conservation for that?
100%.
Well, I've been duck hunting close to 30 years now, and I don't ever recall there being an increase in the stamp.
No, there hasn't been in Canada for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I've been buying stamps.
So we're due, Philly. You're right.
Yeah, since like '96, I've been buying stamps.
Last words to you, Dennis, buddy. Jesus, Dennis, Billy. Sorry.
Billy.
Fuck. I don't know why I got Dennis on my mind, but anyway, sorry, Billy.
No, you're good, and I would just echo again how much I enjoyed the opportunity to share time with you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing. You mentioned it. It takes those conversations to help get people informed, and we just got to continue doing our part to ensure that we all get on the same page,
Absolutely.
realizing that we're on the same team, and all that throat punching and head stomping over that wet duck's got to.
Yeah.
It's got to stop, man. We can get along. We can have a really good time, and we can probably find a duck or two in the meantime.
100%. Ladies and gentlemen, this was episode 199 of the Union 0430 podcast. Like always, we're not experts. We'll never pretend to be experts. We're a bunch of friends that love sitting around talking about duck hunting. Big love. Surround yourself with good people, and see you next week.